Hi, it's Yvette, and I'm back with lesson 9. So thanks for hanging in there with me. I know it's been, numerous videos that you've been listening to or reading what I've been talking about in my newsletter. So thanks for your support and thanks for listening. In my lesson 8, I talked to you a little bit about self-worth and the importance of understanding your self-worth when it comes to your healing and your personal growth and understanding that you really are worth it. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about perfectionism and going for a B minus. So I have a lot of women who come to me and they talk to me about how it's difficult to get the results that they want, to stick with the body and health goals that they desire. Because I think they start their journey on the right path, going for 100% on their journey, and something comes up and out of inevitably, and they end up falling off of that journey. And sometimes it's work that comes up, sometimes it's social engagement, sometimes it's a sick child. So that 100% that they started off with isn't always attainable. And sometimes it's simple as going to a social event and they end up eating or drinking something that's not on the program. And then they fall off the track and then they think, oh, well, this isn't really working for me. So I'm just going to give up. And then they're looking for the next thing that might work for them. And I know this also from personal experience because I was one of these people and I would do this too. And I know that, for many times in a program, I wanted to be 100% ready on day one and when starting with a program. But sometimes those programs were a little bit unsustainable. And I think as a result of some of those programs, I would end up feeling like a failure, that I couldn't complete the program. I couldn't do the program. I wasn't getting the results the program was giving. And my critical voice would come in inevitably again. Why can't you do this? Why aren't you good enough? And so if you remember way back when I did lesson 1, which was around Kaizen, there was small baby steps. And today my lesson is a little bit more around releasing perfectionism and going for a B minus. Because our society really focuses on perfectionism. We're always rewarded for perfectionism and we're actually penalized for imperfectionism. And I know this, I was raised to be an A+ student, not that I always got A's, but I felt really badly when I didn't get an A. And so I always had this little voice in my head saying, you need to look perfect. You need to do this perfectly. You have to have the perfect job. You have to be the perfect mom. You need to have the perfect house. And so on and so forth. So you can fill in the blank. The idea was around perfectionism. And this was a really hard pattern for me to release because of the external pressures in society, in culture. And I also had this internal pressure of wanting to have certain results by a certain time because a program offered it or promised it rather. And also because I thought other people were getting those results. But I didn't always know what that story was. So this concept of perfectionism has really been hard for me to release. But it's really hard to be perfect when you're juggling so many things in life. When you have a job that you're working towards, when you're trying to take care of a family, when you're trying to take care of your kids, when you want to try and keep some balance in your life, it's hard to bring other things in because we think there isn't enough time and space for these things. And I'm not saying don't go for, don't try your best. I'm not saying that. And don't, work towards results. We all need to be working towards results because I know we are a results oriented society. But I'm just saying that what's important is for us to work at a more sustainable level so that we don't burn out, because ultimately that's kind of what happened to me years ago. And what I didn't realize, I think, during this journey as well, is that I didn't always realize that other women were also struggling with this, and moms were struggling with this, and everyone seemed to be happy around me, walking around with smiles as they lived in their life. And it seemed as if everybody else was able to do it. And so it was really hard for me to admit, say, well, I can't do this. It's not really working for me. Or um, that maybe there might be something wrong with me. So it took some more work, a little bit more exploration. And it also takes a little or a certain amount of vulnerability, self compassion, and self love and empathy. And I think change in mindset to begin to alter this way of thinking. And I never thought about the possibility of just starting again anytime when I fell off that path. And whenever I hit a blip in the road, or I could actually release that concept of perfectionism. I am human after all, and why can't I go for a B minus? You can go for a B minus too. And you can still get results and just have less stress and more ease in your life. That in fact, I could, if I wanted to, just meditate one, maybe 5 minutes a day, or not even every day, maybe just a few days a week. Or maybe I could exercise 2 or 3 times a week, maybe just 12 minutes and just do some HIIT exercise. I still get some really good benefits. And maybe going to bed early, maybe like 4 or 5 nights a week instead of aiming for every single night that I had to go to bed by 10 o'clock, for example. And so there was also a point too that this idea of perfectionism would also help, would not help me, but would keep me rather feeling paralyzed. This idea that if I couldn't do it 100% in the way that thought I should be doing it, then I should probably not do it at all. And if I didn't have the time to do it perfectly, if I didn't, or I would wait until I thought it was going to be the perfect time, and I would stay paralyzed. I wouldn't do anything. So I would be in this state of paralysis. And so I think a lot of the women that I work with think that they have to do it perfectly. I really try to give them support in understanding how to ease into a program, how to take baby steps in their journey to healing and embrace the habits. So that embracing those habits 80% of the time, so that they can anchor us despite all of the craziness and chaos that goes on in our lives, because it's always going to be there. But if we have these habits to anchor us and just to keep us steady, then we can begin to feel better in our body. And it'll be a more long-term sustainable change, so that we can feel a little bit more ease in our life. And so that the work that we're doing can actually nurture us and nourish us, from a point of more acceptance and less stress. And so my question to you is, what would it be like for you to know that you could have incredible results and only have to do it at an 80% or a B minus? Just drop a note below and let me know.